interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
I'm back. That still has a nice beat to it. Still seated twerking to bounce. New year, and that song still has a vibe in 2025. Also, it's time for a new intro. I am in with a podcast change. I added the F.A.A.F.O to it, but I'm back with the same formula that has allowed me to be successful in the past. I've set realistic intention. I plan on being present and following through, but I still intend to remain petty and hold grudges. Not all intentions need to be positive. Also, I will be unengaged and unbothered by people and things in my life that do not serve me. That means parasitic people, unsolicited judgments, biased newspapers, and mainstream banks. I will not apologize for maintaining my mental peace. Happy and unbothered and at peace because I'm at unbothered. All day, every day, being unbothered is my way. Join me. Here we are at the end of 2025, and now I get to reflect on everything that has or has not happened in this past year. Welcome to this episode. It's technically a repeat of one of my most streamed episodes of this year, 2025, because a lot has happened. We've had a felon, pedophile, reelected to Congress. We've had a lot of people, all of the gangs of minorities, African Americans, Jewish people, and the like. All of our strides seem to be negated with the swipe of a pen. And yet we rise like Stacey Rush, an unlikely superstar on Real Housewives of Potomac. It seems like on that series, everybody has seemingly clocked in. And I'm here for it personally. However, there's still a lot that's going on. We even have an American elected pontiff of the Roman Catholic Church who has New Orleans roots, and he's a brother! Pope Leo. Shady AF, he's standing on business, and he has given a non-Catholic truth and hope. He has proven that leaders in churches actually can lead, and I am of the ilk, if I don't know you like that, I'm going to be able to trust your word, and I'm not going to kick you to the curb just because leaders of churches are human. They have human failing, but you're not going to play in my face and still pretend that you are above it all and give me nothing to be able to live this life. That's what I actually absolutely have a problem with. So, and I say all of that to say is I have issues with people that try to impel all religious people just because the leaders are trash. And we still have to remember that they still are susceptible to the failings of being human. But at the same time, you got to be able to still walk that walk. Just saying. Further, I was all about looking back to Taoism and Confucius and other ways of being able to take over my narrative and also to be able to control my own narrative. And if you look back and you look well back, you can actually find somebody that's already said something that is already in your soul and say it even better than you have. And you don't have to work that hard to do it. There is going to be a time when people are going to receive a message from an answering service where you're going to actually have to leave a message when you're going to reach out to me. I'm only on like 2 platforms now. I made a conscious decision to trim down. If you not doing business with people that don't really want to learn about me or learn how to treat me or someone that looks like me. With the rollbacks of DEI, you need to ask Target and Amazon what that actually looks like. I also don't chit chat on the phone. I don't care. I don't want to be your entertainment or your energy drink or your entertainment while you try to go to work, while you have a trip, because it's not necessarily that I don't really want to talk. I just don't want to talk to you if you have nothing to talk to me about. If you always have a spirit of chaos and always gone through, why am I going to take that on? If you always under psychological warfare and you refuse to get the help, why I don't need to take that on. And if we're related or not, I value friendships, but I don't value out of guilt. Y'all gonna need to recognize my peace, my time is valuable. That's what I've been really reflecting on since I've been off for the last several days. My last work day in 2025 was the 22nd of December. I've been on paid time off since. There is a post on Instagram where this gentleman basically is like, fuck work. His coworker dropped dead at work. And instead of the business closing, they made those people work. And it was basically, and I already knew this, corporations try to give you bonuses or try to make it so that it's an all big happy family, blah, 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 blah. But in reality, fuck them, because they don't care. They basically want you to work until you drop, and then there's a replacement. If the business is not owned by you, you have to realize that you are replaceable. And what does it matter? Because you're going to work so hard that you die where you work? Okay, girl. Okay. But you won't take the time off. Why not take the time off? Why work so hard when only the people that are going to die, after you die, the only people that are going to receive everything is kids that you really don't like or you really don't want to help, or brothers and sisters that you really don't like and you really don't think deserve to help. I thought my father was trifling for doing this because he had every opportunity basically to secure inheritance and to do all of those things. But he used it as a dangling method to manipulate, to be able to control someone. When the bottom line was, whatever he worked for, the intention was never to go to his offspring. Because if he really intended to do that, he had every opportunity over decades to make it so. So why I don't fight or I don't feel jilted is because I knew that was never his intent. And it's not for me to carry that guilt or that type of manipulation, because at this big age, I don't have time for that. And for people to get upset with why I think that I know he's dead. He died tragically, but yeah, he was kind of trash. Okay, but you can't keep hating somebody that ain't even here anymore, because that is also a prison that I don't want to live in. I want to live my life peacefully and free. And that's what I've been really looking at that. What does my next chapter of my life look like? It is a very peaceful, it's meaningful, and I'm balling. I want to control my narrative and have fun doing it. But as I'm having fun, I'm not going to basically blow everything. I'm going to blow a little bit, but I'm not going to blow everything, because the way technology works today, you can modify. I can have fun, but I also can make money having fun, because a lot of people aren't interested in it. I don't think it's necessary for me to continue to be on social media and make it fake and lie about it, but I can use social media to a certain extent to my advantage, to be able to use the same covers and music that my father, he would never have let me have access to all of his records. And a lot of the way the industry is now, you have to pay millions in royalties and etc. to be able to utilize a lot of these licensed things. But I think there's a way that you can actually stream, and just based on the streams, and to be able to utilize some of this stuff, and everybody can still get paid, which is kind of dope. There is a value to my peace, and I'm going to protect it. And there are ways to continue to search for peace and figure out and be able to develop the tools to protect your peace. And it is actually okay. And that's will give other people boundaries to not invade your peace, because they're going to realize they're going to try to contact you and you're not contacted, because technically you're kind of off grid in plain sight. And you may also not even be in the country. You can be and enjoy life and basically put out content from anywhere in the world, not be bound by boundaries, because you can be floating on a clear lake in Indonesia, and people will still be spinning their wheels in the United States. Is that my business? Nope. And are you going to invade my peace because you don't know what it feels like to be peaceful? You can watch me, but you're not going to sap my peace. That's not going to happen. I found most of 2025 I spent looking for, as I said in the previous segment, looking for other verbalizations of seeking peace and what does that mean. And I found meaning in it. I made decisions to severely constrict where I went and who I was around and who I actually let into my home. My home is my sanctuary, and I'm not going to let any type of spirits or badness in it or be a part of that. If I really wanted to, I could sit and read and play video games and order food because I want to. And now that I got the pain in my knees, for the most part, under control, I can sit and enjoy life peacefully. And I also find it interesting that even though I'm not paid directly for my podcast, I still can use the money I use to be able to post the podcast, and to do those things, to get it recognized and to get people to listen to it. All of those things are mostly, for the most part, are tax deductible, or actually I can deduct the expenses around it. And I'm still kind of having fun doing it. But I'm also finding that certain other activities or interactions makes it really hard for me to want to post it. And that's why I'm reposting many other episodes, or I'm remixing, but I do have the content available to do a remix and be able to still utilize the platform to get content out there. So it's really dope. One of those was when Pope Leo was elected Pope of the Roman Catholic Church. And his pettiness or shadiness in response to the election of Crooked Weave and them in the White House, he put him on blast. He's not going to curtail the truth to be able to massage or to support them, because he is supporter of the supreme leader, the only just God, not someone that thinks they are God. That is the whole premise of the shade when he first was elected this past summer, and I was here for it. But even with that shade, I also have gotten other truths from him. And he verbalized in one of his more recent installments on YouTube, and I have included the link to it in the podcast notes. You can refer to it and listen to its entirety, the video in its entirety on YouTube, because it'll be embedded in the podcast notes for Podbean. But I'm also going to do a more extended iteration for WordPress. But in that respect, he basically is still kicking the knowledge. I could have included the audio of the entirety for this segment, but I think this podcast episode is pretty lengthy already. But you can actually get the actual audio in its entirety and in his voice on, as I said, on YouTube. But he basically, I don't understand why Walgreens is calling me, and I'm not going to answer them back, because I don't need you to remind me to get stuff. That's why we have to, people don't recognize, sometimes be quiet. Some people have to realize, sometimes people really have to realize that my time is very valuable. I am PTO, but you don't have access to me because you have time, or you think it's the best, most convenient for you. You have to be respectful of other people's space and boundaries. And this is what those things that I'm really going to need to put up the boundaries for and be adamant about. And people are going to think it's mean or cruel, or how can you do that, or what? Why are you doing this? It's because peace. You know what peace it looks like to me? I'm looking down at the end of the year where I am happier and healthier than I've been in about 5 years, half a decade, 5 years. The Panorama Pro V did its number on me. I developed or had really bad knee pain. slightly more active, fatter. I've enjoyed myself just by doing little things. I know my limits. I am not afraid if something were to really go down in my corporate or day job, or they decide that we're really not going to get a bonus. I know I'm going to be okay. There are other means for people to legitimately make money and to be successful and free. It really is. I don't have to succumb to other people's psychological detritus. I'm not going to be continuing to be a dumping ground because I'm not a psychiatrist. I can halfway listen to you. I can take you in small bits, but there will be a time where you're not going to have full access to me just because we're related, or just because we were worked together, or just because we were friends back in the day. I don't think people realize that about anyone. In that segment, that YouTube segment, Pope Leo basically did a teaching on where he taught on what is really draining your spirit, what aggravates or takes away your peace. And he identified 5 types of people to avoid to be able to navigate your life in peace and freedom without the chaos. An elderly woman once told her sister, she was referring to one of her neighbors. She says, I love her, but I cannot breathe when she leaves. It is as if though she blows out the candles in my house. The sister answered her with gentle truth. Love her from a distance, for God did not ask you to sacrifice your peace to satisfy another's unrest. If someone constant complaining suffocates joy, God is trying to nourish in you, then you must protect your inner sanctuary. The next type of person to avoid is the manipulator. This is the most subtle and often the most painful. Manipulation does not come with shouting. It comes wrapped in words that sound like care, like duty, like obligation. Manipulators use guilt to control. They speak of love but demand submission. God never weaponizes guilt. Therefore, every person who steals your freedom is damaging the gift God placed in you. Third type to avoid, they remind you of old mistakes, not to heal you, but to diminish you. They keep you fixed in an outdated portrait of who you once were, refusing to see the grace that God has formed in you. Your past is not a weapon for others to wield. Fourth are the darkness bearers. These are the mugs that carry darkness, not always in obvious ways, not always with dramatic sins, but with a present that pulls the soul away from the light. These are the people who normalize what leads you away from God, who diminish the seriousness of sin, who feed resentment, who speak lightly of what wounds the conscience, who invite you into anger, division, or habits that cloud the clarity of prayer. A neighbor arrives not with warmth but with gossip that stains the mind. A relative comes not with compassion but with a burdensome anger that pulls the spirit into aid conflicts. Fifth are the silent mugs, but they're deadly. This cold silence is not the silence of contemplation. It is a silence of indifference. It is the silence that neither builds nor comforts. A relative who shows no interest in your well-being, a friend who never asks how your heart is, a companion who takes but never gives. Your soul, or my soul, is too close to eternity to be entangled in the shadows of the others. Rise above the storms of others. You will live the latter years as God intended, but not in confusion, but in clarity. not in exhaustion, but in grace. I hope the addition of these sayings of Pope Leo will give you clarity and will give you the peace that I have enjoyed. And as you navigate this life, and actually through the rest of this episode, you will gain some clarity in how to navigate, hopefully, the next episodes of your life. And take it for what it is. I said what I said, and I really mean that. I really mean that. I'm all for about peace. If you are not going to do benefit to me, or you're not bringing peace and you always bring the chaos, you're going to get the dial tone or you're going to get the answering service. And I don't care who you are. Bet that. And those are really our facts. Sorry, Gert. I ain't got time for that. It's all about what you're willing to accept, what you want in your life. Is it positivity or is it not? Sun Tzu was a Chinese general, military strategist, given the honor of writing The Art of War. In The Art of War, it stresses the importance of knowing one's own strengths and weaknesses. You avoid unnecessary conflict. If you use psychological warfare, it manipulates the enemy's perceptions and actions. Do not engage in personal attacks or pettiness. Yeah, I don't think Sun Tzu anticipated these New Age Chinese nor Trump, because everybody, including you can be blind and know that Trump has a hard-on for Obama, a black dude, mixed, that is so much more a man and is much smarter. One of the best presidents of the United States, that he can never imagine or measure up to anything. His whore of a wife, wait a minute, scratch that, former whore of a wife, nor any of his mouth-breathing dope fiend kids. So with that said, the Chinese knows that the United States, we don't want that smoke. They almost 2 billion strong. They go hard. They can pivot. They don't tariffs. They don't give a F about him, his little hands, or his ill-positioned weave. They cool. But they petty as hell. I hope this is true. How you gonna keep the United States on red when you really have to renegotiate these trade deals in the face of 250% tariffs, and you basically play Obama speeches? Really? Because you know his ass is lying. Every part of his being. Every time this fool, the president of the United States, every time he opened his mouth, a lie gonna fly out. They said, we got time, we can pivot, we don't care. They don't. We don't want that smoke, China. And they know we don't want that smoke. They know they got time, they got the money, they got the gold, they got the silver. They cool. But they can be petty. They also know that one of the leaders of so-called free world is also extremely petty, and he also has a low self-esteem, has a hard-on for the previous president that did serve 2 consecutive terms in the face of hate in this country, he benefited from every positive thing that happened during that administration while he was side-mouthing and poor-mouthing and doing the least. So with that said, they understand the assignment. They know about being petty, even though they really shouldn't be petty. But they say they got time. We got all the time to poke fun at somebody with the low self-esteem and little hands. I hope that is true. I want them to be sat on red and to be listening to Obama speeches, because we know everything that you say is going to sound stupid and it's going to be a lie. So now you need to learn, since we know you don't read, you need to, you can at least listen to what speech making is and when it's followed up by true actions. I hope it's true, because this is a level of petty I can only aspire to. Petty-lujah, y'all. Petty-lujah.
So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed.
Yeah, it just came out.
Our notes had it about 3.1 as well.
3.1.
3.2.
This came from us?
Yes. I don't know who does that.
You're including the Martin renovation. You just added.
Our entire capital.
Yeah, you just added in a third building is what that is. That's a third building.
Well,
including
no,
the
but
Martin building.
it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
It's part of the overall work.
No,
So,
It's not new.
The tour continued, and
Jerome Powell was like, nah, bitch, you are not gaslighting me into believing lies. I find it rich that Chump was quoting renovations that were completed during his presidency. And did y'all catch that, T? We also know that he doesn't read. So he basically pulling out old receipts from when, did he go to his bathroom in Mar-a-Lago where he had all of those other papers stored illegally? This is what I want us to look at. He literally was trying to gaslight Jerome Powell with hash lip Tim co-signing stupid from 5 years ago. That was at the height of the panorama and your presidency. You're not going to add on and you're not going to look in Jerome Powell's face and basically tell him the sky is green when we know the sky is blue. Jerome Powell had to take out his glasses, read it, and was like, and I could read it all over his face. He was like, I know this MFer is not trying to convince me and show me evidence of what? A building that was built during your last presidency and not now, and you want me to add that on to make me look crazy? Boy, bye. He trying to make up causes. He's trying to get someone with actual knowledge to go against reason and what would benefit and keep all of us secure, just so he can look like what? Trump is on some power grab. He's into basically destroying everything, just for his own self-image, which is rooted in tomfoolery and lies. He basically is trying to get all of us, the world, back for him not going to a second term. He's basically trying to cause all this chaos and burn it all down because just because he couldn't get and do what he wanted to, and then he was supposed to become king. You get to do all of this, and he's going to it basically is going to blow up in his face, and it's going to take out the Tim Scotts, the Clarence Thomases, who just are volunteering to be extras on Get Out because they know this stuff is wrong. They know people are still keeping notes and tabs. Tim Scott co-signing on crazy is going out on a limb that on that plank that no Republican, they don't want you in the party anyways. They think you are beneath him. And we as African Americans, we don't want you back. Sometimes you can do a whole bunch of stuff to black folks, but you can't sell us out and expect us to support you when you are out there on that limb. When all is said and done, and when both of them, meaning Trump and his current vice president, are in the clink, nobody's going to be there to basically support you and allow you to rebuild. All the people that you're just giving them the ammo to basically gather all of y'all up and I'll get life without parole. That's all I got to say on that. Federal charges, they're going to send you to the same Alcatraz that you were planning for all of the legal immigrants is going to be the same place that you're going to rot in. And that's the God honest truth. Eye for an eye. Nobody is going to save you, Mr. Scott. Why are you trying to co-sign on crazy? Why are y'all letting this fool present papers that really are not the case at hand? We got a renovation. He's getting the place renovated so they all don't die of asbestos poisoning because he understands the assignment. And you're not going to gaslight Jerome Powell. He looks unbothered, but don't y'all underestimate that white man. He also would be a great poker player. I wouldn't play with him because he don't bluff. He got facts. He don't deal in unreality, and he's not going to suspend disbelief just because a crazy person is going to ask him to. You can't alter the truth, and the truth is not relative. It is or it isn't. It literally is or it isn't. And it does not make sense to cut rates. And also, what are you trying to hide? You're trying to substantiate getting rid of decreasing the government by an explosion of the deficit. What does that mean? What are you hiding? Are you trying to continue to allow the running of the American pockets with no real plan to decrease the deficit? Or you're going to die and you're going to leave it to somebody else to figure out? What other dirt are you doing? What other dirt are you hiding? All this stuff with Epstein files, and even with that, I don't want to hear another word about those files unless somebody's going to get convicted. I don't want to hear, unless there's going to be a clinkety clink, I don't want to hear about it. Because him harassing Jerome Powell is also just a diversion on the explosion of the national deficit, and threaten to fire him when he knows he does not have the ability to fire Jerome Powell. These Epstein files and files disappearing the Justice Department is not about justice. It's all about making incriminating evidence disappear. I don't want to hear about any of these things until something else changes, because the real news and the real dirt is happening behind closed doors. You can't basically justify an exploding national deficit if nobody's getting help. People are still getting booted from the health care, and then they redistricting to try to keep these yahoos in power. That's the real news. That's the real story. That's what I want to hear about. But this other mess, no, I'm good. As soon as Jeffrey Epstein killed himself, it was a wrap for me. And if you're not going to do anything with that evidence, I don't want to hear about it. As soon as Sean Combs' case, they couldn't get him on those major verdicts unless something changed and they come back with some actual federal cases and they got some real people that about that life, and I don't want to hear about that either. I'm good. I really am. And also, I endeavor to continue to be unbothered like Jeffrey Powell is the bottom line, is because He doesn't deal in fallacy, facts, and he's not going to be bullied into basically capitulating again to a madman and to lies. He only deals in facts and figures. That's it. If it don't make sense, Jerome Powell's not about that life. That's why he could be unbothered by any of the nonsense that's going on in DC right now. I endeavor to be unbothered like him. I also endeavor to continue to be petty like in Great Britain. That fool is about to go to Great Britain. They plastering all about the Epstein files. They going hard like he's Meghan Markle, which actually freaking cracks me up. Between Scotland and Britain, they keep reminding him. And it's also a reminder, y'all realize that Prince Andrew was relieved of his royal duty by his own mama before she passed away because of his associated with Epstein. So you know they getting ready to go hard with all those pictures of Donnies all over that country because why is this felon, and he just looks like he smells like toe jam and bad decisions. It's like this is what he seems to smell. Don Trump seems to smell like just an old man that is rotting from inside. He smells like evil. He looks rumpled. He looks disheveled. He looks like he's one step away from a PE. Just ended it all. I can only be hopeful. But with those things said, the Brits and Scots are bringing it real petty. But we got to still keep our eye open. All of this nonsense it's all diversion tactics from the real criminality that's going on right now in DC. I don't trust the Republicans. I don't trust Tim Scott or anybody that calls themselves MAGA associated. I can't. I want to know what the real deal is and what other perversion that they're hiding. And I can be petty and roll with the stupidity of the Epstein files and the list being on somebody's desk and then whoops, it disappearing because you would rather be and support a lie and a criminal versus just being ethical and doing the right thing. That to me is crazy. But remain petty like the Brits and the Scots. No, it's not the same thing. The Scotland is a part of the UK, but they do not consider themselves British. You better recognize. And a real douchebag would not make that distinction. So, again, remain petty, know why you're petty, and keep the petty going. Petty-luya. My apologies to Henry Mancini, but a riff on the Pink Panther theme is in alignment with a podcast segment dedicated to a fictional PI and all about true crime, or fictional crime in this case. Don't you think? Episode this week, but I think I'm hopeful I'm going to be able to add to the episode and keep the counts. Podbean makes it very difficult to basically do this. However, I'm going to attempt to basically just modify the episode with adding some additional information. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, I decided to drop my own meme coin. When I tell you it was a very interesting and liberating experience, I don't think nothing's too hard for God, because I truly firmly believe that with my efforts and staying true to the law, it'll be successful. I firmly believe that. I'm going to manifest success. However, the more you get into a different world, it also seems that the scammers they really are out there. I basically posted, I'm planning on, as part of my bonus episodes, monetizing it using NFTs. And I secured some of my videos on YouTube, made them private. And so if you buy the NFT, I'll actually release that information or make that information available to all partakers of the NFTs. It's all about them coins, girl. But anyways, so I get someone that interacted with the post, and this is what you should never do. And the more I think about it, the more I know it was a scam. The dude, or male or female, contacted me, complimenting me on the video, and they basically said something about, can you actually help me recover my wallet or exchange some cryptocurrency from one wallet to the next? And they also then submitted their recovery phrase. I mean, this is scam or crypto 101. They basically tell you, don't share the recovery phrase with no one. And then I went into Inspector Gadget mode, and I realized if I had used any of that information, because it's almost virtually impossible to track, I honestly believe that person stole that information from someone else and wanted to get me, to dupe me into basically transferring or stealing whomever's cryptocurrency. Aiding and abetting, felony. Wire fraud, felony. Federal, felony. I'm going to have all the eyes coming after me if I were to participate in something crazy like that. Basically, I told them, why are you contacting me? I'm new to this. I'm not into trading, and I'm not also into stealing from somebody, because they could trace that from my wallet.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Could basically trace it from my wallet. Either it was some state or federal sting, or there was just some type of scanner trying to dupe me and to rope me into creating fraud. I'm thinking it was a fraudster because probably their account is blocked, so they want to get somebody else into basically. Also, I just thought about this, washing money. They really wanted to get somebody or fool somebody into basically washing a whole bunch of money for them. But either way, I would get in trouble for it. And it's not legal. And you're not supposed to do that. That is so freaking illegal. And so, with those things said, please leave me alone. Find somebody other dupe to help you either wash your ill-gotten gains or just wash your money in general. It is all around illegal. And I hope no one, whoever hears this part of my podcast, don't fall for the okie doke. People are out here scamming, they're out here stealing, and you can work as hard as you want to, but there's always going to be somebody working just as hard to take away what you yourself have worked hard for. Protect yourself, protect your wallets. Secondary authentication, don't save recovery phrases in your computers because they are cloning phones and stealing information. And with that said, I'm going to end this part of the podcast, but I hope this actually helps someone today. How are you going to play me like that? I basically said, you need to get in contact with Bitbon, whoever actually owns your wallet, and have them help take it there step by step. I'm not the one, and you should never share your recovery phrase with anyone. That's why I suggest that you delete this message with me, and I basically hid them from ever commenting on any of that account, which I think is a burner account. I'm going to hide this message from anybody else seeing, so they won't think I'm basically advocating you helping this person commit wire fraud or steal crypto. So there you go. Can't trust nobody, man. I'm really just learning more and more about crypto and also just investment in general. I'm making good use of my investment portfolio and becoming an active participant in the market. The idea of working 100-hour weeks, contractor jobs, is not for me at my big age. As well as I wish I had learned, instead of buying Coach purses, I wish I truly had bought Coach stock and Ralph Lauren stock versus just spending it on the apparel. But I digress. Also, wanting to know, or the whole crypto game, and it's not a game, there are millionaires being minted on a daily. I just created my own meme coin. I'm trying to learn how to legally go viral. And even in the early days of I think it's Shibuku as well as the Dogecoin or the Dog Coin, those, through a lot of luck probably, but also through the conventional avenues, those coins did go viral and were picked up by institutions. But I asked a legit question because this past week has been very interesting. I actually, as I stated in the previous section about someone tried to hit me up on YouTube and getting me to participate, and it really sounded like someone had stolen the information on somebody's crypto and wanted me to assist them in transferring it into their account. No, I don't do that. Also, I also got hit up on TikTok from someone that wanted me to assist, or wanted me to enlist them to actually trade in crypto. That's where it seems like the big money is. As far as if you know what you're doing and you wanted to swap tokens or participate in the next big thing, but no legitimate investor or advisor is going to just reach out to you randomly on TikTok. Often, unsolicited outreach is a scam. Straight up, no chaser. And these people need to stop. Why don't you just work hard and to instead of appearing legitimate, why don't you just be legitimate? Why are you going to outreach, spend the time trolling social media to see who you can actually get into your own schemes? A lot of these cryptos or people are just truly are scammers. A lot of these guys, the legit guys actually do work for the big firms. These guys that work for the big firms also they're looking for the next moonshot. Moving from moonshot to an actual stable coin is a big ordeal, and you really have to have institutional backing from jump. You could go viral like you can, like on something that says something stupid or inflammatory just to be inflammatory. That's kind of how crypto works to a certain extent. You still have to have people actually, hard currency, supporting those crypto, those coins at this time. You actually have to have the bandwidth, be quick enough, and be able to have the bandwidth on your internet provider to be just that. So on a legit, it probably is a scam. If they basically are offering you, this guy offer, because I basically questioned him. I didn't tell him the name of my coin, but I'm sure he could figure that out from what I was actually posting on TikTok. No, I don't want to basically be in the position to put up my own money and risk my finances to basically, mirror your really risky trade in the volatile cryptocurrency market. I'm not going to do that. He was urgent and he was actually really pushy. I don't know how much social engineering he was trying to do, but because I don't have a lot of people in my current circle that really understand or are willing to invest in cryptocurrency. I'm not going to, again, why would I trust somebody I have never seen that reached out to me randomly on social media? That doesn't make any sense to me. What the bottom line is, I'm going to peep you out. You don't work for anybody reputable. And it sounds way too good to be true. And it just sounds like a scam. And you also have a whole bunch of misspellings. So I'm thinking you are from overseas and you're running a scam. And I don't have time for it. Why are you reaching out to me randomly? Why you need me more than I need you, or you need my money and I need to keep my money. So we're not going to make a dynamic duo in crypto. And you're not going to use me for legitimacy or to rob me of the few coin I have. My whole goal is to keep my coin and let it work for me and increase, and keep it away from you greasy, thieving MFers. From the person who reached out to me on YouTube, scammer, leave me alone. And for also this dude, I liked your avatar, but you really need to kick rocks too. I don't have time for it. I thank you for the offer. I'm good, and I'm just going to keep it moving through legitimate means. And good luck to you. I hope the feds don't catch on to you. Their hands are busy right now, but I hope nobody else catch on to it and you scam the wrong person. Federal time is not a good time. 96% and counting conviction rate. The Shady Bunch, the Shady Bunch. I hope for checks is worth being part of the Shady Bunch. We got a whole bunch of weird, loud, and wrong white conservative trying to make rules for us, and a bunch of people climbing out of their families' basements thinking you can talk crazy to people and you are socially inept. Y'all need to have a seat, because a lot of us are pistol packing, throat punching Black African Americans, so you may want to watch yourself. We all should be afraid of what we are only being shown on TV. What is it, Mormon talk or mom talk? Sister wives, poly families. Ugh. And y'all don't even watch TV, but y'all are dictating my viewing choices. The fuck? I do binge a bunch of reality TV, and I make no excuse for that. I just watched Lock Up Louisville, Kentucky. They show creativity and depravity. So many people. Louisville, Kentucky is supposed to be one of the safest cities in the United States, but if everybody in jail, that's why nobody can commit crime until they go on probation. I don't know, child. But I'm just going to need y'all to go to y'all prayer closets, y'all very conservative, missionary-minded Christians, and just leave me the F alone. One of the shows that I follow, and I'm glad it came back, but it was like a Mean Girl session, but it still was not as bad as season 14 and 15 before they went on hiatus and came back in 16. Real Housewives of Atlanta. I'm a raindrop. Followed Carlos King from his time, or Real Housewives of Atlanta. I didn't know he had produced Table Flipping, Teresa Goodeyes from Real Housewives of Jersey. Monday Night Lives, where they recap the previous episode of Real Housewives of Atlanta. I'm thoroughly enjoying Dustin and Claudia Jordan, their recaps. But I'm just going to focus in on Portia Williams, because this last episode was definitely a descent into the Mean Girl isms. And now Portia Williams is giving one note. More, not the same as what's her name, Britt, who's also had a lot of plastic surgery gone wrong. We've seen since season 7, Portia is a mean girl. She was the one that dragged Kenya, actually season 6, because season 7 she came back as a friend of, because of her shenanigans at the reunion season 6, when she literally dragged Kenya Moore across the stage. She's literally still the same selfish airhead now that she was back in the day. She can be fun, and we see her and Shamia be those girls. Beautiful, fun, vapid. But she also, I don't think she has the capacity to be any deeper than that. And Claudia clocked it. And she's still standing on business. It makes me so sad that she didn't come back again after season 7. What I have noticed about these women is a bunch of trauma bonding. But what are we expecting that's going to be different? Portia Williams has always been gutter. And we've now seen 11 seasons, actually 10 seasons, I forgot, and I added in 11, because she's been on, we first met her in season 5 with Kenya Moore. She took a season or 2 off. Actually, maybe it's only 9 that she took a couple of seasons off, married to another fraud, Simon Gabadia, who she actually stole from her acquaintance. Because yes, he was still married to Phelan. Just saying. And no, you don't get to all blaming on the Henny of your flippant remark, because you don't think anyone, even though you want it to appear that you don't, because you probably don't care about anybody's feelings and why they would be hurt by your remarks of you saying that you may sleep with their husband, because we know that you are about that life. And we know you're about that life because we saw it play out in 9 seasons. We've seen it between that, Twitter, and on other social media. So, girl, we've seen her only react and do things if you can shame her into act right. But she's going to do whatever is necessary to elevate her brand. Damn anybody else. We've seen season 7 when she was a friend of, came back, Shade Assassin, Phaedra, Kenya. And what kills me, as Kenya went through all of that, and we are being deprived of a good old-fashioned read, unrehearsed, right, and Johnny on the spot. I think she completely overreacted to the stupidity that is Britt Ely. and we are being deprived of one of the greatest OGs of Real Housewives of Atlanta history. So, or Real Housewife history, matter of fact. What me rewatching Real Housewives of Atlanta, Kim Fields, if she really was like her character Regine, that character would have been a perfect housewife. But her as Kim Fields, she just wanted to be regular, degular mom, and that is what she was not. She could have probably been better as a friend of, as a voice of reason, but not as a full-time. I think what Cynthia Bailey has been teaching us, and even Sheree has taught us, you could add benefit to the show, but you don't have to be a full-time housewife peach carrier. Because it wasn't that Kim Fields wasn't even built to be a fun TT. She just not, her real life is not built for the fodder that is housewives. Portia and single Shamia, they got caught up in some same-ish. You remember that with the whole Miami of it all, and that cut basketball player, nephew of Sheree's ex-husband. Season 9 was the apex of freaking frack until Phaedra was forced to exit because she made that accusatory lie on Candy, and she knew it was a lie. She perpetuated, and Portia basically co-signed on it because it gave her more street cred. And as long as she had Phaedra there, but she instantly backpedaled. She got into a fight, a kicking match with Cynthia Bailey, and then, but that was a lie she couldn't come back from, so she had to make amends. Because I want to say, in the beginning of season 10, she was again bust down to a friend of, and she had to claw her way back up again, because her in her vapid, selfish ways knew she couldn't mess with the bag that was Real Housewives of Atlanta. Even though she had the fake hair bundles, as Kenya would say, she still could not, it was nothing to sneeze at by her, the cachet of being a full-time peach holder, and she knew that. And that's what, and she only did that nonsense because if she had the support of the people that could inflate her brand and not mess with her bag. She understood that. She understands the assignment, and I don't understand. We've had 9 seasons of Portia acting for Portia. Why would you expect her to act any differently? Because she's not. She's really not that girl. She ain't all that deep. Despite who her father was, and definitely despite who Hosea Williams was, we saw a possibility of greatness when she was involved into the prosecution of the Breonna Taylor policeman that killed that girl in her own bed. We saw a little bit of that. But I think that was because it was what she was doing to inflate her brand at that time. That's not who she always is. That is not the sustainable Portia, because that is not, she's basically willing to roll with the times and be able to inflate what the world is, what will get you clicks and what will keep you up and popping either positively or negatively in social media. But she's really is not about that life. And she is not all that deep. And her feelings and who she actually is not all that deep. So why do y'all keep expecting her to continue to be that deep when it's not the sign of the times right now? You can take the girl out of the hood, but you can't take hood music out the girl. But I'm going to end this with a word, just as I started this podcast. Do or do not do. There is no try. And that's a word from Yoda. I hope I have conveyed just how much fun I have had in creating this podcast. I've got my mojo back. Just set your intention or reset your intention. It could be daily if necessary. Mine is peace. No mental dumping over here. If I'm acting like I'm not listening, I'm probably not. I'm not your therapist. I'm not a therapist. Keep the crazy to yourself, child. You do you and leave me be. The sooner you figure that ish out, the happier you will be. So this is what I want to convey in this podcast. And that wraps another of F.A.A.F.O has a fro. Join me next time as I throw shade and point out the shade and simply have fun. Y'all have a great new year. What, y'all? What?